So it appears yesterday, I think at 5 p.m. No, 4 p.m. 4 p.m. my time, 5 p.m. Eastern time, there was another mass shooting that happened in Raleigh, North Carolina. Suspects currently been identified, Suspect identified as 15-year-old brother of one of the victims. The shooting, the investigation's still open. President Biden renews calls for changing gun laws. After this, the victims range from 16 to 53. It's really tragic. Sources have confirmed that the suspect in Thursday night's mass shooting is 15-year-old Austin Thompson, a sophomore. And this speaks to a few issues, of course. One obviously is the one President Biden is talking about, which is, we absolutely, it's becoming more and more urgent, and it already was so urgent to reform gun laws in this country. But one thing I'm not seeing talked about is the mental health crisis that many people are aware of and talking about, and also needs addressed urgently. I haven't seen that mentioned as much, but we're gonna look at some of this information. Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard. I mean, I don't really know what to say. There's so many of these every day. I mean, even just gun violence in general. Okay, Kitty, we can't keep doing this every day. Even just gun violence in general, because this is on the heels of a 17-year-old Eric Cantu being, wrongfully shot several times in a McDonald's parking lot while eating a fucking hamburger, because the officer mistook his car as stolen and fired shots at him while he was just trying to, in the confusion, understand and get away from this officer detaining him for no reason. And he's in critical condition still. So there's just too many. There's too many instances, and it's so exhausting. Obviously, for more so exhausting, heartbreaking, and tragic and terrible for the victims and the family members of the victims. But this constant wave of, bad police shootings and mass shootings is also contributing to the mental health crisis in the country. It weighs on people's minds. The fear people have going to school, the fear people have going out, that all contributes to, this problem further. Yeah.
An officer down. We have an officer down. Officer struck in leg.
This morning, officials say it was a single gunman who left a trail of terror across one Raleigh, North Carolina neighborhood, firing shot after shot, killing 5 people and wounding at least 2 others.
A large police presence here. They just trying to find out what happened.
Among those killed, an off-duty police officer who was sitting in his car. One witness, who does not want to be identified, says she saw the officer's final moments.
We heard the gunshots. I saw him, bleeding out in the car.
That would be the officer, the Raleigh police officer.
The off-duty cop, yes, sir.
It set off a nearly 4-hour manhunt, with officials combing the neighborhood, redirecting traffic, and warning residents to stay inside. Robert Anderson says he saw the gunman from his deck.
He had a camouflage shirt, camouflage pants. He had black boots, and he also had a backpack that was just looked like it was filled to the brim.
He says his demeanor was eerily calm.
He was walking. And when I tell you he was walking, it was like nothing had happened. And he was just walking, looking straight forward. He had his gun on his side and it was pointed downwards, and he was just walking.
Officials finally tracked the suspect to a nearby barn where he was holed up inside and ultimately taken into custody. Police are releasing very few details about the alleged shooter or his injuries, only that he is a juvenile.
Yeah, he's a minor.
White male. This morning, law enforcement agencies around the country are sending support for a police department and an entire community shaken to their core. Now, this morning, police are still investigating what exactly led up to this shooting, and they're not saying whether these victims were targeted or whether they were shot completely at random. Now, Savannah, there was a second police officer who was also shot in the leg. Fortunately, he was treated and released. Savannah.
Blaine Alexander in Raleigh, North Carolina for us. Blaine, thank you.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, they obviously can't release too much information about the suspect, mostly because he's a minor. I'm not familiar with North Carolina in terms of sentencing. North Carolina, can children be tried as adults? Pretty sure that's a thing everywhere. Until recently, North Carolina was the only state in the union where juveniles as young as 16 could be automatically prosecuted as adults. So 16. This suspect is 15. But lawmakers approved the Raise the Age law in 2017, which increased the minimum age from 16 to 18. All juvenile prosecutions start in juvenile court under this new law. There are 3 ways a child can be prosecuted as an adult in North Carolina. Mandatory waiver. Juvenile courts must transfer jurisdiction to adult criminal courts if the defendant allegedly committed a Class A felony, first-degree murder. Okay, so probably tried as an adult then. Discretionary waiver, depending on the facts of the case, the defendant's criminal record, and some other factors. Juvenile court may transfer the case if the minor was at least 13 years old when they allegedly committed any felony offense. Previous transfer. In North Carolina, once a juvenile's case is transferred to adult court, any subsequent offenses must be tried in adult court as well, regardless of the facts and circumstances. So that's kind of like a grandfather-in clause. Okay. So he'll probably be tried as an adult. Holy shit. Now, it's still, no one's talking about the mental health side of this, and I'm very confused about that.
And now we want to take you to Raleigh, North Carolina, where we're going to get another update regarding that shooting.
Today has been a very difficult day in our city. You know, you pray that something like this will never happen here. It did.
Stop praying and pass policy. I mean, how, like, we always hear this, the thoughts and prayers, you always hope, you never think, but one thing we never hear is people actually passing policy, people actually moving legislation that takes steps to solve this issue, and paths have been identified forward. You know, there's so many people trying so hard right now to improve the situation here, and it's being swatted. I don't know. It's every time I just can't help but think, you know, when are we finally gonna get tired of hearing this? When are we finally gonna get tired of this same, you know, panel of people in shock and horror just saying, like, we cannot believe what has happened in our own community here today. It's happening in almost every community. It's a risk in every community. Without addressing the mental health crisis and without serious gun law reform, this is going to continue to be a problem. And we know that gun reform works because other countries like Australia, Canada, other places have changed their gun laws, adjusted them, some more strict than others, and they've seen mass improvements in the amount of violent crimes and fatalities in their crimes. They don't have mass shootings. They don't have these tragic, traumatic, awful events that literally traumatize the entire society. So, yeah.
And I want to thank all the officers who responded in the way they did. They put themselves in danger to keep our city safe.
And something I can't help but think about, this, once again, we have a situation where 2 days ago, a 17-year-old, I believe Eric Cantu was a person of color. I really hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. Sorry if I'm not. Yeah. Wait. No. Released from jail? God. Hey, still on life support. There is footage of the shooting. I'm obviously not gonna watch that on stream, but Eric Cantu, I'm almost positive is a person of color. We have an instance where an officer thinks this child of color stole this car, ends up shooting the child. Okay, here's an active shooter, white, also a child, with gun in hand, stocked to brim with ammo, and it is a good thing. It is a good thing that they were able to arrest the shooter and bring the suspect in without any further, injuries or fatalities. That is not what I'm saying here. But what I'm saying here is it is incredible to me that so many times when the shooter is white, they are able to peacefully get the suspect and arrest them and bring them in. But in so many instances, if the shooter is a person of color, or if they're not even a shooter, if they're just a person of color, all of a sudden it becomes impossible and unreasonable and unrealistic to accomplish the same thing. And in many of those videos, we're seeing the people scream and talk about how they're not resisting. They're trying to comply. They can't comply because of a position like you're on my arm or whatever it is, or so many different things. And I fundamentally don't understand how you can explain that any other way than systemic racism. I really don't. How does the person with a literal portable arsenal get brought in so easily, so non-violently, routinely, if they're white, and people who aren't even violent, aren't even criminals sometimes, too many times, are murdered by police?
I also want to thank all of the
I just don't understand it.
In our governor for their swift response, for their compassion, and their care for our community. I think Governor Cooper would agree with me. As I said earlier, we have to end this mindless gun violence that is happening in our country. We have work to do, but there are too many victims. And so We have to wake up. I don't want other mayors standing here at the podium with their hearts breaking because people in their community died today, needlessly and tragically. I do want to say, though, that I know the strength of our community, and I know we will come together, and we will work together, and we will work for change. I'd now like to ask the governor to please come up. He has a few words that he would like to say.
This is one of those situations, it's like, it shouldn't take a community having something horrible like this happen in order for them to see that we need the reform. We have the studies, we have the data, it's overwhelming. And it's similar to when people are very unaccepting of interracial relationships or gay people, bisexual people, anyone of the LGBTQ community. And that seems to change when someone in their family or someone close to them ends up being in an interracial relationship or a member of the LGBTQ community. Sometimes it takes time, but over time, they're like, oh my gosh, these are real people too. Like, they're people just like me. And I don't get that. Or like people who need to have a daughter to understand that women are people, you know, like stuff like that. Being a half-assed decent person means not requiring the actual example in your waking life right next to you, tangibly, tangible to you, in order to feel that way. That's like, that's literally, literally what empathy is the ability to feel for people and in a positive way, and sympathetically. Well, kind of not sympathetically, specifically empathetically. So it's the ability to understand another person's perspective without knowing them or without intimate details. Sympathy is when you feel with them, but empathy is feeling for them, which is kind of different. But I don't know. I've just never understood that. A lot of people fancy themselves good people, but regularly display that they actually don't have much empathy. They really are only capable of sympathy. Which sympathy's good, but empathy is what we need more of, and what we need to lead with when we're trying to, work together. White America will never understand the problems of people of color. And the only way they can ever hope to improve the situation is to lead with empathy and listen to people of color, their community leaders, and, talk with them and understand what areas need to be improved, what the actual experience they are having in America is. And it goes even more so with indigenous people and natives. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, for the coordinated response tonight. Tonight, terror has reached our doorstep. The nightmare of every community has come to Raleigh. This is a senseless, horrific, and infuriating act of violence that has been committed. The first thing we need to do is to thank the coordinated effort of law enforcement. I know we have Raleigh PD and all of the good work that is going on there. I have with me tonight our North Carolina Secretary of the Department of Public Safety, Eddie Buffalo. As soon as I found out about this, I instructed the Secretary to make all state resources that were necessary available to Raleigh. Highway Patrol, Highway Patrol Aviation, ALE Special Agents, Capitol Police, and the SBI all were dispatched to assist the Raleigh Police Department. These law enforcement officers ran to the crisis when they knew that there was an active shooter.
That sounds like almost a stab at the Uvalde Police Department, talking about how they actually adequately responded and went in to me. Or maybe he's just trying to highlight the fact that they did not wait around, that they did not hold up for any sort of reason, that they were trying to immediately stop any further harm from coming to the community.
Who was ready to kill people. I'm grateful for the coordinated effort that happened here tonight. You know, all of us have many questions. I know the media has many questions. And RPD here is heading up the investigation, and I know that more information will be given to you. But as we seek answers to those questions, let's all pray for these victims, their families, the communities that have been shocked by this, and that we all depend on each other and help each other during this difficult period of time. Thank you, Secretary Buffalo, and all of the state resources that were used to assist this effort. I'm grateful for their good work. And thank you, Mayor.
Secretary Buffalo, thank you for being here. Thank you for your swift response as well. I would also like to recognize our city manager, Marshall Adams-David, who is with us this evening, our fire chief, Griffin, Stephen Bentley, our director of parks, and I'm going to invite Lieutenant Borneo to come up now. He is going to give you a briefing and latest news. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and on behalf of Chief Patterson, Governor, thank you very much for your support and for being here tonight. Chief Patterson is on her way back. She's on a flight as we speak. Just would like to provide you an update regarding today's incidents. At approximately 9:37 tonight, the suspect in this incident was taken into custody. A white male juvenile was arrested by the Raleigh Police Department. In addition, a responding police officer who was injured and hospitalized has been released. One victim remains in critical condition. As we continue to support the families of the 5 victims, including an off-duty police officer, and as the mayor said earlier, this has been a heartbreaking day for our city, and we appreciate the support of the entire community. We have currently set up a place at Wake Med where the families of the victims can gather. We want to remind everybody that this is still an active investigation. Our officers and investigators are currently on scene, collecting evidence and speaking with witnesses. We will provide an update tomorrow morning at approximately 8:30 a.m. here at the Raleigh Municipal Building. I want to reiterate, thank you again to all the public safety partners who have supported us in this investigation. Thank you. Do you have to take any questions at this time?
Any more on the 4 other people who were shot and killed tonight?
Not at this time. Again, this is still an active, ongoing investigation.
Can we just talk about your emotions also really quick? I don't want to necessarily go on that too much, but you're reading this, I can tell, and Mayor, I heard you too. I mean, just how you guys doing?
For the Raleigh Police Department, every Raleigh police officer is a brother or sister. So when we lose one of our own, It is a tragic, heartbreaking day for all of us. And we will need the support of the entire community in the coming days.
I'm sure a lot of people in the Hedingham community are on edge right now. Is there a present danger at this point? Do they have any access to their homes?
Again, we have taken the suspect into custody, and there's no active, ongoing threat in the community at this time.
The suspect is a juvenile. How old was the suspect?
Right now, he is a juvenile.
Okay.
In the investigation, but is there anything at all that suggests any of these folks were targeted in any way?
Again, this is still an active investigation.
Hi, Marcy.
Motive, the reasoning behind their actions.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to release any of that information. Okay. Of course. Okay, it'll still let me read it. I'm gonna get some food real quick. Let me play some music.